Greetings here from Pintpot. Welcome to my latest episode of Climbing the Curve, the series intended to make you the hunter rather than the hunted, that little bit faster. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Sunderer. The Sunderer costs 400 vehicle resources to pull, is available to all factions, can be pulled from any base, and is without doubt by far and away the most important vehicle in the game. The reason for this is its access to the advanced mobile station upgrade. This allows it to deploy around the map, effectively becoming a mini base in its own right. Once deployed, the Sunderer can be used as a spawn point and as an infantry terminal. Now the reason why this is so critical is at its heart, Planetside 2 is pretty much a game of attrition. If the other side are losing players at a quicker rate than they can replace them, then ultimately they're going to be overwhelmed. Now the kicker is that as soon as you kill the other side, they'll be able to respawn again in a matter of seconds. And when assaulting a base, that point where they're going to respawn at will be very close to the control point you're trying to take. Now when considering the respective rates of attrition, when you kill another player, the amount of time that you've earned yourself is the time it takes for them to respawn, plus the amount of time it takes them to run back to the control point you're fighting over. In other words, if you're killing the other side at twice the rate they're killing you, but it takes you 3 times as long to get into the battle again, then you're going to be losing the war of attrition. Therefore, your deployed Sunderer is the linchpin of the battle. By setting up a respawn point close to the action, you can dramatically swing the war of attrition from their favour to yours. And it is this factor that makes the Sunderer the most important vehicle in the game and the #1 target. With this critical role in mind, it would seem an ideal place for a beginner player to invest some certs here. However, before any certs are invested, there are a number of issues you need to carefully consider. The Sunderer, more so than any other vehicle in the game, is all about teamwork. It's a slow, clunky vehicle which drives like a brick. It's highly visible to the enemy, it's noisy and unmanoeuvrable, and to cap it all, it's extremely valuable to kill. Therefore, if it's not used in the correct way, it effectively becomes a massive cert pinata for the other sides. Before you know it, you'll be overwhelmed by enemy infantry and armour, all wanting to have a bash. Now to the second problem. Not only are you the top target on the battlefield, but to mount an effective defence of a Sunderer requires multiple infantry. Against any sort of serious attack, you need an absolute minimum of 3 people, 2 to mount the top guns and 1 to be healing. In serious fights where there's multiple targets attacking you, you'll probably need several engineers to be healing on a pretty much continuous basis. However, if executed correctly, the Sunderer can become pretty much a fortress. Not only with both guns mounted, it can dish out a serious amount of damage, it also gives the player the satisfaction of knowing that their Sunderer is a linchpin to the attack. So for newer players thinking of investing into the Sunderer, there are 3 immediately apparent problems. The first is that with such a diverse set of tools available to the Sunderer, it can be enormously expensive to upgrade. The second is that once upgraded, you need at least 2 other players to be working with you to make it a genuinely effective unit. And thirdly, a badly placed Sunderer is actually a genuine hindrance to your side. Looking at the minimap, you can see the white circles around deployed Sunderers and the red circles around bases where you're not allowed to deploy a Sunderer. A poorly placed deployed Sunderer can actually hinder your side by stopping any other Sunderers being able to deploy in better places. Therefore, a newer player who's not exactly sure where to deploy it can end up hurting their side more than helping it. So for newer players, it can be a little tricky. Newer players do not tend to have a lot of certs, do not tend to know many players in the game, and don't know the base layout so well. So what I'm going to suggest are 2 relatively inexpensive builds. One is orientated around a forward combat role, and the other focused much more around a support role. Now the key upgrade to the Sunderer, which we're putting in just about every build you have for them, is the advanced mobile station. This goes into the utility slot and is a rather inexpensive 50 certs. Once attached, it allows the Sunderer to deploy and become a spawn point. This upgrade should be your absolute first priority for unlocking on your Sundy. Now, what you decide to put in your defence slot will define the role of a Sunderer. For a combat orientated Sunderer, designed to be deployed right at the front of the battle, the upgrade you want to unlock is barricade armour. Visually, it looks like someone has welded a whole series of steel plates around the Sunderer. Now this offers 2 advantages. The first is a straight up buff to resistance to damage, particularly on the rear of the vehicle. This is exceptionally useful when you're receiving a lot of punishment. The second, and absolutely crucial one, is the resilience it gives you to C4. Now for most vehicles, 2 C4 bricks will blow them up. However, for the default Sunderer, 2 bricks of C4 would just do very significant damage, leaving it incredibly vulnerable to being blown up. Blockade armor gives special resistance against C4. Now, the tooltip description for blockade armor gives you some numbers about how much resilience it gives you to C4. However, these numbers can be confusing. Essentially, the damage taken from C4 is cut by about 45% in a fully upgraded blockade Sunderer. The reason why this is so significant is it effectively prevents your Sunderer from being soloable by any infantry which attack it. Now, as you can see from the footage, a Sunderer without blockade armor is pretty much put on its last legs by a couple of bricks of C4. At this point, 1 rocket will destroy it. But with blockade armor, the damage becomes much more manageable, and it is this difference which is so key to blockade armor. The transition from being effectively saleable to a fortress which requires multiple infantry to take down in a concerted attempt. Therefore, to make your combat Sundy shine, you should be looking to invest in at least the first 2 ranks of blockade armor. This amounts to a 150 cert investment just in the armor, plus the 50 certs for the AMS. If you're thinking more along the lines of your Sunderer being a pure support vehicle, then there are 2 options to consider for the defense slot. These are Proximity Repair System and Vehicle Ammo Dispenser. They both reside within the defense slot, just like blockade armor. Therefore, for these builds, it's an either or rather than both. So let's consider the Proximity Repair System first. The way it works is that any vehicles in close proximity to you will be steadily repaired. At higher ranks, it effectively works as if there was an engineer full-time repairing you. This is a great ability when there are multiple vehicles stacked within a small area. However, for a beginner, I do not think this is a good choice, and the reason is this. At lower levels, proximity repair is very weak. Fully upgraded, it increases its effectiveness by a whopping 500%. Now, even to unlock rank 1 costs 100 certs, but to fully upgrade it costs 2,450 certs. When you add into the mix the fact that the effect does not stack with multiple repair Sunderers, and the chances are that with a large armoured column that there's going to be higher rank repair Sunderers around you. Given the massive cert investment required to make this ability really shine, I just don't think this is the right route for newer players. Which brings us to the ammo dispenser. For newer players, this ability has 2 major advantages over proximity repair. Firstly, it's cheaper, just costing 50 certs to unlock. Secondly, you don't really need to upgrade it. The upgrades do increase the radius in which you dispense ammo, but considering the cost, it's not that dramatic an upgrade. And trust me, if a tank needs ammo, it will move the additional 5 yards necessary to be in range. Also, from a tanker's perspective, it's frequently much more useful having an ammo Sundy near you rather than a repair Sundy. The thing is, you can repair your own vehicle if you're an engineer, and also, most vehicles have auto repair on them. However, you cannot replace your own ammo, and having unlimited ammo nearby changes your gameplay for the better. It means you don't have to conserve ammo, but rather can put down suppressive fire as much as necessary. It also means you don't have to retreat from the battle for more extended periods of time, and therefore keeps you in the fight. So, if you like the idea of being a support Sunderer, deploying just a little further away from the front of the battle, then I strongly recommend you go for the ammo dispenser Sunderer. It's very cheap to unlock, it's very useful for your own side, and even gives you a little experience from dispensing ammo to other vehicles. Now, the final thing we haven't talked about yet on the Sunderer are its top weapons. And in this regard, the developers have done you a massive favour, as there's absolutely no reason to change from the default weapons. There are a host of alternatives available, but the default Basilisk heavy machine gun can do all the roles you need with the Sunderer very well. It's good against everything: armour, infantry and air. And when you're on a Sunderer, all of those 3 are going to have a go at you. So my best advice is, don't change them. One thing it is worth investing in is upgrading your ammo capacity on them. In a proper fight, you'll be sharing this around the place like confetti. So I would recommend investing 41 certs for each of your guns to upgrade it 3 times. This will increase your overall capacity on both guns by 300 rounds. Given you only have 250 to start off with, this is a huge improvement and will give you much more longevity in the battle. So, in conclusion, if you like the idea of a team play orientated support vehicle, then the Sunderer is a good option for you. However, be very conscious of the fact that to make it shine, you do need the support of multiple other infantry. So my best recommendation is, take it out for a spin and see what you think. Now, my next episode, I'll be taking a look at upgrading the Light Assault. If you found this video interesting or informative, please feel free to thumbs up, thumbs down, comment or subscribe as appropriate. In the meantime, happy hunting and Pintpot out. Have a good one.